How's it going, yo?
And welcome back to Bros.
Last Friday, we started the final arc of the Bad Batch Season 1. For a show that had its ups and downs, we'll definitely have an exciting finale now that Hunter is captured by the Empire and Crosshair is taking care of him personally.
Today we're going to talk about the final arc of Season 1 of the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch received an urgent transmission from Rex, asking for their help to free a fellow clone trooper called Gregor.
Gregor used to be a clone commando captain of Foxtrot Group for the Republic, but after crash landing on the planet Abafar, he suffered amnesia. He regained his memories when Colonel Meebut Gaskin showed him his past. He helped save the Colonel and a bunch of droids which had R2-D2 in it from Abafar that had a separatist settlement. While saving them, he was caught in an explosion.
We thought it was a hero's final mission, but he appeared in the show Star Wars Rebels next to ex-clone troopers Rex and Wolf. We had no idea how he survived and how he got to meet Rex before watching the 14th episode of The Bad Batch.
Apparently, he miraculously survived and found his way back to the Republic. After the transformation to the Empire, his talents as a commando are used to teach the new volunteer army of the Empire, who will be known as the Stormtrooper Army in the future. As you know, Empire no longer requires the clone army and they are transitioning into their new Imperial army using recruits from all over the galaxy. Their training is supervised by the clone troopers.
If you would like to learn more about Gregor, his origin story can be found on the episode of the Clone Wars Missing in Action, Season 5, Episode 12.
There's a few details that we would like to share about the new troopers of the Empire. The regular clone operating numbers usually start with CT. For example, Rex's number is CT7567 and 5's number is CT5555. Gregor, a clone commander's operating number is CC5576. These originate from Clone Trooper and Clone Commando respectively. The operating numbers we heard for the Imperial troopers start with TK, which we think means Trooper Corps.
This transition shows the efforts of the Empire to replace clone troopers are rapidly taking place. As Crosshair mentions to Admiral Rampart, Project War-mantle is ahead of schedule. Empire is building facilities all around the galaxy, like the one on this episode on Darrow.
These military facilities are new as we can understand from Tech. He didn't know the existence of the installation as it wasn't on the Republic's database, maybe not officially on the Empire's database as of yet.
We should mention the appearance of the Imperial troopers. They look different than the stormtroopers we know. A fun fact is that this design was an early concept of how stormtroopers could look like. It's nice to turn early ideas of George Lucas into reality.
The score of the episode was also very impressive. We love the Bad Batch soundtrack to begin with, but the Empire feeling is given perfectly with the addition of a New Hope, Death Star soundtrack and Rogue One soundtrack.
After landing on Darrow, Hunter, Echo and Tech successfully infiltrates and breaks out Gregor from the Imperial facility. That is when they learn about Gregor's background and Empire's plan.
We have a few amusing moments when we see how bad the new recruits aim and Gregor mentions how he doesn't teach them everything. The biggest issue with stormtroopers, as we will see, is that even though they are large in number, their skill level is extremely low. They might be cheaper, but we know the rebellion wouldn't have survived with clone troopers still in effect. Maybe they should have used a hybrid to create the Imperial army.
Even though the Bad Batch takes Gregor out of the facility, they leave Hunter behind with his orders. The overwhelming numbers of the Empire prevents Bad Batch mission's success. For a group that never failed during the Republic era, they seem to fail a lot during the Empire era.
Crosshair joins the Empire on Darrow in the end of the episode to take care of Hunter personally. Bad Batch's unique abilities can be used for good of the Empire as we can see from Crosshair, and the Empire will surely want to make Hunter an ally. Of course his chip is removed unlike Crosshair, so we don't know how the Empire will react.
We have 2 episodes of Season 1 left, and we will have an eventful finale. If we are being honest, the first season has been a little underwhelming.
We had a banging start with a movie-esque episode, and there were a few bangers, especially when the Empire was involved. Hera's episode specifically was awesome. But we think we've wasted a lot of time in Sid's place accomplishing nothing. If this season was around 12 episodes without the wasted mission, we could have had a denser but more fulfilling season.
We don't complain as we watch more Star Wars, but from now on we would like to see better content for the final arc and next season.
Talking about arcs, we had a very few of them this season, which we think is one of the reasons why this season had bad episodes. A very successful show, The Clone Wars, is built on arcs, and we usually have more done when there are arcs involved.
Hopefully next season we'll see more of them.
We still have an interesting story to finish in Season 1 first though. Crosshair's involvement will be key in these episodes. He is a valuable asset to the Empire, but we cannot imagine him continuing to be a part of it.
Now that the Bad Batch has to save Hunter, and Crosshair will literally be next to Hunter, we should imagine they would want to save Crosshair as well. The show hinted a few times about the potential return of Crosshair to the Bad Batch.
Wrecker mentioned he misses him. Omega mentioned how he cannot control his actions. We saw a few shots of Crosshair missing his team members. As annoying as Crosshair has been and as deep as he has gone as a clone so far, he can still have a redemption story.
We saw from Captain Hauser and a few of his clone troopers that they can return back to normal and the intensity of the inhibitor chip fade away in time. Crosshair's chip can also fade away and he can think about returning back to the light side.
One of the reasons why Crosshair has been so obsessed with the Bad Batch might be because he deep down is angry with them for not rescuing him. We saw he struggled with his actions before the Empire intensified his chip. We believe his friends can turn him back.
This idea brings two possible outcomes. First one is what we hope for. Crosshair successfully reunites with the Bad Batch. The second one is a more likely one. Crosshair redeems himself while sacrificing himself. We think it will be one way or another from this point onward.
The fate of the Kaminoans will be crucial as well. Prime Minister is caught in an attempt to survive under Empire's rule. This results in his execution. No matter what, we know the Kaminoans will still be contracted to the Empire, as we can see in The Mandalorian with Grogu. This episode showed us that the Empire will use the resources, facilities, technology and scientists of Kamino, but not the politicians.
We were asking why is Dr. Pershing, a human, is working as a part of the Kaminoans in The Mandalorian. The simple way of explaining can be the Empire is using their own scientists and the Kaminoans together in certain projects. Maybe they want to learn all the technology directly from the Kaminoans and replace them just like they do with the clones.
The Empire surely likes to use their own forces and no one else's. This story and the mystery of Phase 3 clones can be explained by the end of the season. We still don't know what Lama Su and Nala Se were planning with the DNA of Omega. Force-sensitive clones which would explain the Grogu experiments and Palpatine. Maybe more enhanced clones like the Bad Batch? Hopefully, we will find out soon.
We might have some more cameos of certain characters like Rex, Grand Moff Tarkin, maybe more Imperial officers like Thrawn, or maybe Ahsoka.
We would expect big players like them to appear at some point in the Bad Batch, but we have more seasons to see them. We would definitely want to see more of the Emperor and Darth Vader in the future.
These are all we expect from the final arc of the Bad Batch Season 1.
We'll be back with more Bad Batch content after the finale. Until then,
Libros out.